Hello everyone, we're done with functions and today's agenda is to get started with file handling. In the file handling, there are many things that we are going to learn and let me tell you the plan for today. And today we'll actually get started with the file handling and we'll understand what is a file and how many types of files are actually there, what kind of operations you can do on files, what are the attributes of a file, like how to identify the name, how to identify whether we can read from the file, whether the file is writable, whether the file is readable, then how do we read entire file content, how do we read like specific sections, let's say for example, first 10 characters of a file, let's say I want to read the first two lines of a file, head and tail operations, if you're coming from a Linux background and familiar with Linux and Unix background, familiar with head and tail command, then we can actually do the similar kind of operations. In Linux, there is a command like WC, which returns the line count, word count, character count, right? And we can also count how many characters present in a file, how many words present in a file, how many lines present in a file, the first 10 lines, then last 10 lines, all the kind of operation we can actually do. Okay, let's say if your requirement is to get line number 5 to line number 10, we can also do that. Okay, sure. Before we proceed further, let me tell you what is file. File is an object which stores data basically. You just name it, whether it is an Excel file or a TXT file or a PDF file, any file or a data file. It stores some content, right? Then we call it as actually file. And when we are talking about files, files can be of multiple types. When I'm talking about multiple types, it can be a text file which contains only text, and it can be a CSV file which is containing the information in comma separated values. It can be a XLS file, it can be a DOC file, it can be anything. But in Python, by default, we are having, for the very beginner level knowledge, I'm just going to tell you right now, there are two types of files. One is text file, which contains text data. Then the second one is my binary files. The binary files are nothing but, let's say, images JPG files, or you are having PNG files. Those are image files, or audio files, or video files, MP3s basically, right? Or MP3, MP4, right? All these files. Those are known as binary files. So while dealing with it, we can deal with any kind of file. We can deal with a text file. We can actually deal with a binary file too. Apart from these two files, using pandas and other libraries, we can process JSON file, XML file, CSV files, right? And then we can also process any file, YAML file. So all kinds of files we can actually process. But to process those files, we need external libraries. Let's say, for example, to process a CSV file using pandas, we need a pandas library. To process any content, like any different content, let's say, for example, YAML or it is JSON and all. So we need different libraries to handle those kind of files. So once you are actually done with the basic operations on file, definitely you will able to do it. Now, let me tell you quickly, what are things we are going to learn today. One is the file types, and one is text file, the other file is binary file. Then we'll understand the various properties of the file. So in the various properties of file, we can actually get the name. We can check whether the file is readable. Is it writable? Whether we can actually write. We can check whether we can actually seek. Seek is like you can move the cursor to a respective position. If you're having basic knowledge on file operations on C, C++, any programming language, there is like no seek operation. So seek is you can move the cursor to the beginning, move the cursor to the end, right? You can start it from a given position, and all these things are actually current position basically. You can actually seek from that position. But in Python 3.x, the most recent Python, we do not have those options. Only option is like seek the position from the beginning. That is nothing but the offset. We call it as offset. The offset is actually 0. But in Python 2.x, we are having the offsets at 0, 1, and 2. Okay, 2 is from the end, I believe. 0 is from the beginning, and 1 is from the current pressure position. That is known as sec. And there are various other properties also we can actually learn. Okay, there are various other things. I'm just going to tell you like how we are going to learn that and which one is needed actually in real time. So that's all about like various properties of the file. Then we are going to do operations. What kind of operations we can actually do on a file? We can read, we can write, we can delete also, right? We'll understand like how to delete a file, and then we can also do many other operations. Let's say for example, read, write, delete, edit also you can tell, edit or change you can do, right? And then while talking about like operations, read, we can read one line, read certain characters, or read multiple lines, or read the entire content. So those things are also supported. Okay, so these are the various things what we are actually going to learn specific to the file management today. So let us get started and write our first program, like how to open a file for read and write and all these things. We'll go one by one. So when we are talking about like opening the file content, opening a file for editing or writing or anything, then how do we do it? Let me move it here and then write it here. Okay, file open. So we are going to open it and we are also going to close it. Okay, open and close. So what do we mean by open? We need to open a file. Guys, remember, if you are able to understand std in, std out, and std error, or let's say in Linux or Unix background, we do have standard input, standard output, standard error. Those are nothing but file descriptors. Like standard in is actually 0 in Linux, standard 1 is actually one is standard out, and 2 is standard error. Similarly, while dealing with the files, we need a file descriptor and we need to open the file. And what will be the descriptor while opening the file? 0, 1, 2 is reserved, right? Those are the like standard in, standard out, standard error, ideally. So when opening the file, it will be like greater than that. That means it will at least start from 3. And we'll understand like how to get that. So in Python, it is known as file number. What is the number of the file? So number of the file is could be greater than 2. Maybe it starts with 3, 4, 5, and all. We can actually go through it. While opening it, there are two ways we can actually open the file. One is we can use open. Then we can specify file name with path. File name with path. If you are not specifying any path, then it will be picked from the current directory. Then here we are going to tell like what is the mode. What is the mode of that file? Now the basic mode is read. R stands for read, W stands for write, X stands for exclusive create mode. Okay, and there are various modes actually, like how to open a binary file and all. We'll go through it. Okay, so now this is how we can actually open. Now while opening it, we have to assign it to a descriptor, or you can give a, like it is not like you have to give fd, you can give file name also. Okay, file name or anything, my input or anything it could be. So I'm just giving a meaningful name and using fd as in file descriptor. Now in the close state, while opening the file, guys, the rule says if we are actually using open to open any file for performing any operations. The operation could be read, write, exclusive create, or read, write both, all these operations. And then whenever you want to close it, it's like if you're opening it using fd equals to open file name, then mode, then we should definitely close it. That is fd.close, fd.close. Okay, now you can ask me, if you are not closing the file, what is going to happen? What is the big deal? Why we are actually going to open and close it explicitly? As I told, there are file descriptors. So every system has a limitation of open files, and there is a limit of maximum open files. We cannot actually open tons of files at the same time and leave it open. Systems at some point of time, there will be like no file descriptors left. So system cannot actually open the files anymore as soon as that maximum limit has been reached. Second thing, when we are actually opening the file, we must close it. If we are actually using this approach to open, we can actually do that. We can do the open with keyword, with, let's say, open this file, right? And open this file as fd file descriptor, and then we have to align it right now. Here we can actually say like now our statements, and here in between also we can actually have our statements. Sure, any statements, any operation you want to do, we can actually put it here. Read operation, write operation, any calculations, anything we want to do, we can do it. The difference between these two is we don't need exclude, like now if you are actually opening with, no need to specify close exclusively. Okay, we don't need to close it. We don't need to close the file descriptor, because that is exclusive closing is not needed with. Most of the time we'll be using like now with open, it's g. Let us get familiar, right, with the simple file operation first. Let us open our PyCharm editor and then go ahead, we'll start writing the first program. Now my first program here, I'm just going to write, let's say, file operation, Python new file. I'm just giving file operation example 1. Okay, now before we do that, let us create a file. Let us create a file like new. I'm just giving a file. Okay, name I'm just giving, let's say, demo Python file handling, or maybe I can actually give a very small example like file underscore ex.txt. Okay, file.txt. I'm just giving it here, Python session. Today we are going to learn file handling, and world is open source. World is open source. So these are my files, okay? File content basically. So I have this file, let me save it. Okay, it is auto save actually. So file.txt is there. So now what I'm going to do here is I want to open this file for reading. Read stands for, R stands for read, W stands for write. Now how do we specify it? Let's say I'm just giving my file descriptor equals to open of what? Like if I click here, you can see there are so many things. Here you can see like RB plus, R plus B, R, BR plus, WB plus, R plus, W plus, AB plus, append, A stands for append. These are like the operations, right, what we can do. Okay, so now that is the reason while I'm focusing on that, I can see like lot of documentations. So if I'm looking at here, I can see like now many examples are actually coming here, and many documentations are actually coming here, and here also we are getting various kinds of mode, like what kind of mode we need to actually specify. Let us see here. Now open of what? Open the file. Guys, remember, while opening the file, we need to specify the path. What if you are not specifying the path? If you are not specifying the path, we are telling the system the file is present in the current directory. Now, if you look at file underscore ex.txt file is actually present here, right? File.txt file is actually present here. Okay, the same directory where our program is present. So if I'm giving like typing in PyCharm, if you're typing the file name from the current directory, it is going to populate. Let's say, for example, here you can see it is actually suggesting which file. We are having filter, we are having print to file, and all these things are actually there. Now I want like file example.txt file. Then I can specify here which mode. The mode can be read, write, append, and all these modes. Now I'm just giving like open the file in the read mode. Now that's all done, and then I'm just going to tell FD. Okay, I'm just going to do one thing here, like fd.close without fail. Okay, even if you are not giving, it's not going to throw any error. Now done. Now the file has opened for reading. Now if I go ahead, like print, I'm just saying like type of FD. What is this type of FD? Okay, so now fd.close, let us see if I'm running this. Here what it is saying, it is like saying it is IO text. IO text means it is like we have a text file over there. Now here it is. It is saying like this is a class IO input output, okay, text wrapper. So now if I want to know what is the file name, let's say print, before we proceed with the content, let us understand few things like the file name, file number, whether it is readable, whether it is writable, and all these things. So if you can see it here, tail is going to tell me the position. I'll just tell you later point of time, tail and sec. Close is going to close it. File number. The first one is actually file number. Let us see what is the file number. As I have told, it should be like greater than 2. And ideally, if no files are opened by Python, then it is the first file, then result will be 3. Now here you can see the file descriptor is actually 3. Now if I want to know, okay, that's fine. I want to know what is the name of the file. Just give name. Python is just English. Name, that is fd.name. So get me the name of the file. Now here if you can see, it is saying like the name of the file is file underscore ex.txt. Now if I want to know, whether I can read from this file, is it readable? Guys, remember it will be returning a boolean value, either true or false, because I'm checking if file is readable. In Unix or Linux, you can correlate and understand better. We are having read, write, and execute permission, right? If you are having a file in /temp, we do not have read privileges. Then in that case, this fd.readable is going to return as false. But this file is owned by me, so that is the reason it should actually return as true. So now here you can see it is returning true. Now I'm just going to check whether this file is writable. Like I do not open it in the writable order, but writable mode. Let us see like now what it is going to return. Is it writable? Now again here it is also going to give us a boolean value. It's saying like false, because my mode is actually read. So there are various modes, and if I'm going to change this, let's say for example I'm just giving like a read to write. I'm opening in the write mode. Now I'm just trying to read. Whether it is readable, it is going to return as false. Writable, it is going to return as true. Now here you go. So now here you can see false and true. Now what if you want to actually do it in read and write mode, both? So you can actually give W plus. Let us say in this case, here it is saying like not true. If I'm giving like read plus, it is also does the same thing. If you give read plus, it does the same thing. It is readable and writable. So now file number, file name, whether it is readable, whether it is writable, there are various other methods too. Like if I'm giving fd dot FD dot here you can say readable, writable, seekable. Seekable means whether I can seek. Seek means change the cursor position. Can I change the cursor position? I'm just asking the system. System should actually return as true. Yes, we can actually change the cursor position in this file. It's seekable. Now print, if I'm giving fd dot, then another function I'm just going to tell, like now tell is going to tell you the position. Where is the cursor for the first time? Let's say if I'm using like to tell, it should actually tell me the beginning of the file, that is 0. 0 means it's at the beginning. Okay, 0 means it is at the file descriptor pointer or cursor is actually at the beginning. The control is actually beginning of the file. Now similarly, if you scroll down and then see, there are so many other things are actually available. Okay, so many other things are actually available. But for now, this much is actually sufficient to understand and get started with the basics. So this is properties of the file. We are actually checking the properties of the file. Now let us move further next topic, like now how to read the content. So we understood R is for read and we are going to use R. Now let us write a program where we are going to implement the logic like now to read a file. I'm just giving file operation read Python file. Now here we go. We really don't need all these things. Take it out. Now the question is, I want to read the content. I can simply give fd.read. That's it. fd.read. Now if I'm giving fd.read, let us see like now what is going to happen. I want to, when I'm doing like fd.read, here we need to print it. Otherwise it is not going to print anything in the console because it is reading, but it's not printing. I'm just going to print fd.read here. fd.read here. Now let us see if I'm running this program, it is saying like now there is nothing. Okay, we'll see like now why there is nothing. Now look at here, what I'm going to do, I'm just giving like str equals to uh, str, let's say str1 or my data. I can give like no data equals to fd dot read, fd.read. Okay, and then I'm just going to print fd.read, print fd.read. Now if I'm running this program, now here you can see there is no output coming here. Why it is not coming? Let me see, file underscore ex.txt file, and we are actually opening it in read mode, read plus mode, anything is fine. fd.read, and fd.read should actually read the position. Let us see like now what has happened. Oh, okay, we did not actually save it. That's the reason why it is not coming. Let's say Python is fun, and world is open source. Okay, let us explore file handling. File handling. Okay, now if I go ahead here, like now close it out, hopefully it is going to save. Why it is not saving here? Let us see. Yeah, it is there. So probably I got deleted by mistake. Okay, so now here you go. Okay, why deleted? I'm just going to tell you that. Okay, why it got deleted? It has deleted because we have actually opened the file in the read write mode, the W plus mode. W plus is actually going to overwrite the content. So that's the reason the content was completely wiped out. Okay. So now I'll just show you that. Okay. Just don't worry. I'll just show you that. Now here we go. FD equals to this file, then data, and all these things are giving here, right? Now if I'm running this program, here you can see again. Don't tell me like now what has happened here. Am I missing something? I don't think. Okay, so fd.read data equals to fd.read print data. Okay, now here we go. So finally we got all the details here, and then fd.read, it is going to return a string, and then what it is going to do, as soon as we are actually using fd.read, we should actually store it in a variable like this. So now Here you can see the entire file content we got it. Got it. RAID is a costly solution. Why RAID is a costly solution? Let's say I'm having a data file which is 10 GB and I've just executed fd.read. The file descriptor is fd.read and think about like the file underscore example.txt file is 10 GB. And if I'm opening a 10 GB file in Python, then system is not going to respond. Why? Because it's a very large file to handle, right? So in that case, what we need to do is we need to do a lazy load or read the file content in chunks. So how do we read the file content in chunks? Let's say I'm just going to write a program, file operation, read chunks. Okay, read chunks. I'm just giving here fd.read. Okay, so now here I'm just directly giving print. Let us see if it is going to work here. Work like this, and here we go. Here it is actually printing like now entire content. I don't need entire content. Let's say the Python, the first 6 characters I can specify, read only 6. Read only 6 characters. It is going to read only Python. Like here I'm just running the program. Here you can see only Python. Okay, that's fine. I want to read the next 4 characters or next 3 characters. I can specify, let's say next 3 characters. It is going to give me Python is. Now look at here. I did not change the position. Initially, I used the read statement. Second time, when I'm actually using the read statement, it is not giving me PYT. It is giving is. Why it is giving is? Because the control will be moving from the first position. Look at the file content. This is actually 6 characters. It is done. The next 3 characters is actually is. The next 4 characters is fun, including the space. Okay, so now if I'm giving read the file and then another 4 characters, then it is going to return us is fun. Type Python is fun. Now, if your requirement is okay, that's fine. I really don't need these spaces. Like, how do I do it? Definitely, what you can do is you can strip it. Strip with what? Strip of space. Now, let us see if I want to do a stripping of space. Hope you remember this function. And we have visited the strip functions in strings, basically, right? Strip of space. And here, if I'm running the program, here you can see it is saying like Python is fun. This is how you can actually read in chunks. So large amount of file. 6 means 6 characters. Now you are having a 10 GB file. Do not load the entire file content at the very beginning. First check what is the size. What is the size of that particular file? Then go ahead, read it in chunks. And we call it as actually lazy processing or lazy load. The lazy load means we do not have enough resources and we are having 10 GB file. Maximum capacity is like we can read, let's say 200 MB at a time. So read 200 MB chunks and then process it. Then as you go, you can process and then get your things done. So this is how you can actually use the read. So read has two variants of read. One is read from the beginning. If you are not specifying how many characters you are going to read followed by size, basically this is number of characters. Then the second one is only read, which is going to read the entire file content. Now let us understand the next example of file, like the file handling. Now new Python file. Here I'm just giving file operation. Let's say read example 3. Now here we go, the same file. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to print here let's say my data equals to fd dot read. Okay, the entire line basically. If I'm giving data here you can see The entire file content, it is 3 lines. Python is fun, world is open source, let us explore file handling. Now, my question is, I want to know how many lines present in this file. How many lines present in this file? How do I know? So now I have just given like no data fd.load read. Now this is nothing but a string. If I print here, what is the type of data? What is the type of data? Now, if you're running this, you can see it is actually string. If it is string, then identifying the length, this is character count. Total characters, I can say here something like this. Total characters. If you want the length of the string, then it is like an len, right? Len, length of data. Now, if I'm giving length of data, here you can see total characters is actually 61 characters present. So this is kind of, if you're familiar with like wc command, this is wc-c. Okay, so now my requirement is I want to know how many new lines are actually present, because new lines are nothing but the line count, right? How many lines are actually present in this file? Like total here, if I'm giving like lines, total lines, I can actually give here data dot count, count of what? I'm counting /n. Every line, guys, look at here. We are hitting a /n here, which is not visible, right? But it's a /n is new line. So we are having 3 new lines over here, 3 new lines over here. Now if I go here, right, give total number of lines. Let us say like how many number of lines are actually there. We're saying like number of lines are actually 3. Nothing. I'm not removing, not giving the new line. In this case, it is going to give us, 2. In Python, while writing the line, we should actually give a /n. In the write operations, I'm just going to tell you about that. So don't worry for now. So now here, I can actually get the number of line count. So here it is wc-l. Now, if I want to know the number of words, if you want to know number of words, guys, number of words, how do I count it? The number of spaces plus 1. Python is fun. This is like 2 spaces, that means 2 plus 1 is actually 3 words. Similarly, the entire line, if you're actually reading it and counting the spaces plus 1, that is the number of words, right? So now I'm just going to do this, just copy paste the same line here and then putting together here and then counting the number of spaces here, right? And then writing it as wc-w because we need to give the count plus 1 number of words. Now Control Shift F10, if I'm executing, here you can see something went wrong, non-data type. Okay, it's a non-data type, data plus count, then 1. Okay, something went wrong. What went wrong is the plus 1 should be here. Now, here we go. You can say total lines, it is total number of words, total words. Total words, you can see it here like running the program. Here you can see 62, 3 and 9. Now let us see whether it is 9 words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but it is like not 3. Okay, what we are actually doing wrong here, we are actually going to count the spaces, right? Data count spaces, but here why it is actually showing 9. We'll explore like why it is showing 9 and how do we actually do it better. So we'll identify it. Let's say, for example, if you look at here the entire string you are going to print, let's say I want to print something like this, print data. Okay, now print data, we'll fix it like how to get the exact count. Now it is saying Python is fun, world is open source, let us explore Python file handling. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to strip /n. I'm going to strip the /n. Now here if I'm going to strip the /n, here it is saying Python is fun, world is open source, and it is actually printing like this. Why? Because we need to give something here. Let us see like now what's happening. Probably the character is actually different or something is going wrong. So let us see like what's happening here. Like don't give hand here and let us see. Okay, we'll figure it out. Like, no, why it is not printing. We'll figure it out, and then I'll just come back here. Okay. So now maybe something is wrong here. We have better ways of doing it. How we can actually do it? I'm just going to tell you the next one. So let me do one thing. This is like read in chunks, read the entire content, and then we are actually dealing with this, and then somehow it is not working. Like now data.count, it is not working. The space is not able to match the count basically. Oh, okay, I see. So now what is happening here is like 9 it is saying, right? This is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. This is 8 spaces. So 8 plus 1 it is giving 9. But every line also you need to add it by 1, right? For example, 2 spaces here, then a line like here it is like no slash n. So it is 3 lines are there. So it should be sum. Okay, let me tell you this. So what went wrong here? It is data count, we are counting space, plus, oh, I think it is not required, plus 1 is not required, plus I can definitely give data plus count, then slash n. Hope this is going to give us the correct result. Like why it is going to give us the correct result? We are counting the spaces, we are counting the new lines. So it is going to give us the correct result. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is 11 words. Let us see whether it is 11 words or 12 words, whether we need to explicitly add a plus 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 words are actually there, okay? So now this is correct. So now why it was not working earlier? Because we are counting the spaces plus 1. But ideally for each line, we need to plus 1 here, plus 1 here, and then plus 1 here. If it's 5 lines, we need like know how many number of new lines are actually there. For each line, we need to increment by 1. We need to consider the line separator 2. It is like 2 spaces is 3 words. So 3 spaces is 4 words. Again, 3 spaces is 4 words. So now that is the region we have given like this, and it is giving WC and W. It does the same thing. Like if you are familiar with WC command, this small piece of Python code does the same thing. Now, if I want to read the line and store it in a list, basically I want to store it in a list. How do I do it? In Python, we have an option of like read lines. So in case of read, it is going to read the entire content written as a string. Read size, it is going to read in like chunks. The chunk is nothing but size and number of characters. Now read lines, it is going to read the file content and store it in a list. Let's say, for example, if I'm giving a Python file here, file handling or file operation example 4. Okay, so now here we go. Instead of like read, what we can actually do is we can use read line. Let us do like read lines. Okay, I'm just giving read lines first. Let us see here. Read lines. Now print. If I'm going to check what is the type of data. Here you can see the type of data is, what is the type of data? The type of data is class list. So it is going to return as list. So read lines is going to return as list. Now again, I want to see how the data looks like. Now I'm just giving like data. Now this data is nothing but like a complete list. It is saying like Python is fun, /n is there. This is what I was actually telling, like we'll understand it better like in the grid lines itself, right? So now here you can see /n is not visible, but while reading the content and storing it in a list, you can see exclusively /n is actually given here. Okay, the /n and /n. Okay, so now this is how we have like the data in the list. Now the question is, if I have everything in the list, how would I do one thing like I want to find out how many lines are actually present. This is like very simple. What I can actually do, print line count. Line count is nothing but the length of data. That's it. Very simple. Length of data. And here you go. It is saying line count is 3. But in this case, we cannot able to count the words in the string. Sorry, in the previous example, we are using read, so everything was actually getting stored in the string, so we were able to do this. But here, you look at here, the elements are actually list elements, okay, and we are having different lines. To do the count, what we need to do is we can actually we can traverse the list and then do that, but that is not needed. I'm just telling like this is how we can actually do. To do the character count, again we need the size of each element. Now let us say size of each element using a lambda function we are going to do. Let's say I'm just giving here the input will be list. Let's say I'm just giving here like len my length. My len is a lambda function. Is a lambda function. Lambda x colon, and then if I'm taking any element, the element is actually a list. For each item in the list, then what we need is we need the length of okay, it may not work. Okay, so we'll see length of, okay, let us see. It is actually going to give me the length. Actually, this is my length. Now print my len of, I think something like this we can actually do, but yeah, I'm my len of data. If I'm giving, let us see what's going to happen. Now control shift F10. If I'm giving here, you can see like it is just giving 3 because it is counting the length. So if you want like now for each element, then we can actually do a use a for loop. We can use a for loop. What we can do, x okay, let me not write the complex one here. We can actually definitely do it. What we can do is we can traverse the particular elements. To simplified version, I'm just giving it right, here. Let's say per element in data. Data is a list. Now print, I'm just giving here print length of element. Length of element. Okay, so now print length of element. Now here if I'm giving writing the program, here you can see my length is not there, so that's fine. Okay, so now if I'm giving this, here you can see 14, 21 and 27, right? So now if I want to convert this to lambda, then it is easy. Like what we can do, okay, so now here we go. My len equals to, we can actually do this way, like a return a length of element per element in data. We can actually do the conversion. So let us don't spend time here. Like you may or may not able to understand it because in the previous session only I've just covered like in the previous session or one day before we have actually covered the lambda function. So let me focus on file first, like not writing the same logic over here. We can actually do that using the lambda true. It is highly possible. So now this is how we can actually do the read lines. In the read lines, it will be reading the line and storing it in the list. So whatever the list methods we know, let's say, for example, list method, what are the list methods? Like data dot, if you can see it here, count we can do, sort we can do, copy we can do, pop we can do, clear we can do, remove we can do, all these operations are actually possible. Reverse we can do, everything is possible. Everything is possible. Let's say, for example, you want the reverse order of this particular file, right? So now what we can actually do, print reverse of data. Reverse of data. Now, if I'm giving reverse of data, now let us see like now what it is going to give. So it is saying it's a list iterator. Okay, that's fine. And we need to explicitly give a list over here, right? And if you look at here, and the data is let us explore Python. Let's explore the let us explore the file handling. World is open source. Python is fun. But what are the content? The content was Python is fun. World is open source. Let us explore file handling. So this is like similar to tag command. Cat is to display the content of a file. Tag is to just in the reverse order, like last line till first line, right? This is actually very close to tag, not exactly tag. Okay, so now this is how we can deal with like read lines. Now, before we proceed further, let me tell you various modes of the file. The various modes of file, I have just taken the notes, quick notes here, and just explain it. Whenever we are having A plus is actually append mode, append and read. Okay, X as in exclusive creation. We can create the file exclusively. B as in binary file. T as in text mode. Okay, and similarly, we are having A plus. This is append and read. Okay, the same thing. I've actually copy pasted twice. Okay, let me see if my content is actually ready over here. I'll just show you. Okay, here we go. So now here you can see this is R as in read only, R plus as in read and write, W as in read and write, W as in write, right? One moment. W as in W as in write, W plus as in write and read, A as in append, and what is the syntax? Let us understand it here. When we are actually opening with R mode, the read mode is here, right? We are actually giving like a read mode. Create mode is by that is the default mode. If I am not specifying any mode over here, let's say for example, file descriptor equals to open sample.txt, there is no mode given, then in that time, so in this case, the default mode is read. Now, if I'm giving sample.txt, the mode is this is also a read mode. Or we can use with open. With open, I did not cover it yet, but with open, if you are giving like no with open, then the file as file descriptor, then no need to explicitly close it. So this is the syntax like now how we can actually open the file in the read mode. So this is the default mode. This mode is like now open the file for reading. Now R plus, this is for read and write, and it will open the file for reading and writing, and this is the syntax. This is R plus mode. Similarly, if you are having W, that is write mode, and we can actually specify in the write mode. W plus, this will open the file for both writing and reading. The handle will be positioned at the beginning of the file. Similarly, if you're giving A, that is append mode, in this append mode, what it is going to do, it is going to append the content in the file. Now A plus, this is append and read. We can append and read at the same time. Okay, read and append or append and read. So we can actually give A plus mode. Plus means append and read. W plus, write and read. R plus, read and write. Similarly, if you're giving X as in exclusive creation. If the file is there, it is going to throw error. If the file is present, it is going to throw error. Now, how do I specify? It is X. Okay. And for dealing with any binary file we have not yet covered it. So just add B, then the operation does the same thing. XB, RB, FB, WB, or R plus, RB plus, all these operations we can actually do. Like whenever we are actually dealing with binary file, RB, R plus B, or RB plus, WB plus, A plus B, XB, and all these operations we can do. T is in text mode, this is the default. And if you are not specifying, let's say for example, one file is there, we are not specifying anything. It's a read the file content in text mode. You are giving it is read the file content in the read the file content, and the mode is actually read. RT, read the file content in the text mode. Okay, and similarly we can also use like the other options, with open, like the file name and the mode. So these are the various kind of options which are actually available, modes which are actually available. Let us do one thing. Let us create a file from scratch. Okay. Now here we go. If the file is not there, I want to actually create it exclusively. And if the file is, one moment, here we go. And I'm just giving file mode, file modes I'm just giving. Okay, so now here we go. Let's say I'm just trying to open in the exclusive plus mode. Okay, exclusive creation and then read. Okay, so now the file is already present. Now I'm just giving fd.close. Now let us see what is going to happen here. It's definitely going to throw error. It is saying like a file exists. If the file is present, then it is going to throw error like no file is present already. I'm just telling, okay, that's fine. Now you create a file, file ex1. Okay, now you create a file that is file ex1. Now, I want to write some content. I want to write some content in this. Now, how do I write it? So now here I'm just going to write fd.write, fd.write, write of what? I'm just giving versus demo on Python file handling. I'm just giving like no demo on file handling, and we need to exclusively give a /n, fd.write of /n. Now I'm just giving, let's say here I'm just giving like now your guess, and then I'm just giving here I'm just giving Deepak. Done. So now this file is, earlier when we have tried to open a file which is present, it was showing like no this error. File ex.txt was not present. Now while writing this file, let us see whether it is actually going to create the file or not. So if it is able to create the file, then you can see it. Let's say for example, like look at here. Here there is no error because it is written. Now I want to verify whether it is written. Now I can actually put R plus mode. Let me remove these lines. Okay, I am not going to disturb this. Let it be, and then I'll just create it like now the read file. Actually, in the sessions, I'm going to do this in the read file to verify if it is the file is really created or not. Okay. Now I'm just saying here for line in fd.readlines, fd.readlines, print it. I'm just giving like now print the lines, print the line. What it is going to do, it is going to print the lines. Now, if I'm running this program, here you can see it is saying versus demo Python, then your guess, then Deepak. Why it is printing extra /n? Because of print. Print the end is /n by default. I'm just saying like no, don't give anything. Just print the line as is in the file how it is. Now the content is actually available. So now you can understand from this example what has happened. We have opened this file for exclusive operation, exclusive write operation. Then we are actually writing it. If I run this program again, we are definitely going to throw, it is definitely going to throw error because this file is already present. Now if I'm going to give this control chapter 10, here you can see the file is present. So exclusive creation, we can create only once. Now we have exclusively created it, but before that I want to check if the file is actually present. Now I can actually import a library known as OS. Okay, OS. Now let's I'm just giving if OS dot path dot exists, then I can say file dot txt. Let's say I'm just saying here print file is present, and file is present. Else Okay, no need of else. So now I'm just giving like no file is present. Okay, if file is present, I want to delete it. Then os dot remove. Let's say I'm just giving like file dot ex1 dot txt. If it is there, it is not ex, it is ex1, and then I'm just giving ex1. Now look at here. So I can say here print file removed. Okay, that's it. Else, we are not. This part is not going to be executed. If this exists, then the code will be this piece of code, like line number 2 to line number 6, line number 5 will be executed, and the file will be removed. Then we are going to create the file exclusively. Okay, so now let us see like what's going to happen now. If I'm running this program, here you can see the file is present. It's saying file exists error again. It has not removed the file. We should remove. Okay, what is the mistake I'm doing here? Let us see definition of remove. Remove a file same as unlinked. Okay, that's fine. If the dirfd is not none, it should be a file descriptor. Okay, that's fine. So remove what? Then dir. Okay, I see. Okay, I'll just like now tell you like now how to do this. I think it should. I'm missing something over here. I'll just figure it out like now what I'm missing here, and then we'll explore, keep on exploring like now the right operations, and then how do we remove the files and all everything. I'm just going to cover it like now starting tomorrow. Let us do one thing. Let us focus on few more things tomorrow, like that is how to do the right operations on the file and how to handle the content. Let's say for example I want to do a search and replace. I want to filter out the files which contains some particular like pattern, basically like if you are able to correlate like grep command, let's say grep error and then file, how do we like do the same thing using the file handling in Python. Those things we are actually going to explore. So let us find out for today.